WBNE.
Hi, I'm Cari.
And I'm Jade.
And we're the Curly Critics, and today we're talking about New Girl Season 4.
Finally! It's not like we were talking about Narnia forever. No, not us.
Just a short Narnia break, and now we're back to New Girl.
Little segue to trains, and then we're back.
Yay,
It's
trains.
fine.
I don't think there are any trains in this season.
Yeah,
I was thinking about it, and no trains.
I don't think so.
There are
That's
planes.
Yeah. Whatever.
I think this season's my favorite.
Is it really?
Yeah, I was like watching them, and there were multiple times where episodes popped up, and I was like, oh, wait, I like this episode. This is like one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah,
So-
I've got a few like that, but I just love Nick and Jess too much for that. I don't.
I just love Ryan until the end. Their
I
breakup
know.
was the worst.
It was so dumb. Upsetting.
Yeah. So this season has 22 episodes. And, oh, I don't hate Schmidt in this season.
Perfect.
It's a miracle. Because he actually, like, goes and gets a girlfriend that's not Cece and, like, doesn't talk about Cece for multiple episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, Cece talks about Schmidt a lot, but that's a change of pace.
Yeah, it's something
That
a
I
little
appreciate.
different. He's not as annoying.
Yes, definitely less annoying. This season was nice because for the most part, there weren't a lot of relationships. And so there was lots
Yeah.
of squad bonding that happened.
There was a lot of, like, starting relationships, though. Like, there was a lot of that.
Yeah,
Like, with May and with Allie. I mean friend and otherwise.
between the roommates though, there was a lot of good moments for them to just be roommates and like hang out with each other,
Yeah,
friendship
yeah.
wise. As opposed to
Oh,
like
yeah.
last season when it was just Jess and Nick and then everybody else was just on their own.
Yeah. I mean, they literally started out the season with them going to 1,000,000 weddings together. So it's like, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. The first first three, I really was like, oh no, I'm not gonna like this. But
Yeah.
the landline episode I really like. The background
Yeah.
check episode. Episode 7, I didn't write down what it was actually called. I just wrote Gay Nick on it.
Yeah. I wrote that in all caps. Yep.
Gay Nick is one of my favorite lines. Actually, my favorite Nick line is also in this season, which is you treat an outside wound with rubbing alcohol and you treat an inside wound with drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
I told that to my roommate once, and she's never seen New Girl, but she was talking about how she needs a drink, and I was like, because she was sad, and I was like, well, you treat an outside wound with rubbing alcohol and an inside wound with drinking alcohol, and she thought that was the funniest thing ever, and I was like, I wish I could take credit for that, but I can't.
You should have. She would have been like, a wise woman once told me, and they'd be like, literally, that's a quote from New Girl. You should have just gone with it. Anytime you quote anything and someone doesn't know, just take credit for it.
I
We're
think
gonna make
that's
that a
called
rule.
copyright infringement.
And
Great, so now we're gonna get sued.
plagiarism.
That's what they warned us about in school. I feel like plagiarism is one of those things that they really hyped up that I never really heard of anyone getting any major consequences for. I also don't plagiarize, but
Right. No, I've I've heard of some horror stories of stuff like that happening and getting kicked out of school forever. So
Okay, so it's actually a big deal.
it's a thing. It's also like a legal thing, so you could actually get sued for it. Like,
Yeah, I mean, like, I know, like, copyright infringement's a big deal.
right? Yeah, yeah.
But, like,
It's the
plagiarism
same
seems like
principle,
the lesser issue. I'm just also,
right?
I spent 4 years at engineering school. I wasn't writing a lot of papers.
Yeah. I mean, same as a musician.
But, well, now we'll find out as I write theology essays all the time.
Yeah, it's fine. Um, One of my favorite lines is episode 2. I know I'm gullible because people tell me that I am, and I have no reason not to believe them. That is, like, that line is gold and could get completely, like, just blown over. No one even notice it. And that's one of my favorite things, is just says that. And you're like, that's one of the funniest lines, and you don't even really hear it. Oh my gosh, it's so good. But I definitely had a hard time watching after episode 4. I was like, I do not want to keep watching this show. Like, I've seen all these episodes, but then as soon as I got into episode 5, I was like, oh my gosh, these are so good.
Yeah. So, episode 1 is called The Last Wedding. And it's a very stereotypical first episode of the season episode.
Yeah.
They're just, everybody's getting together and they're trying to all get dates at the last wedding of the season. And it's like full New Girl shenanigans.
And you can tell this episode is very dated because Jess goes Bidening. And it's so hilarious to me. They're like, you just need to Biden him. And I'm like, what are they talking about? And it's like, you just need to always be there all the time to a creepy extent. And I'm like, that's hilarious.
Honestly, it worked. He's our president.
Yeah.
He Bidened so hard that he won the presidency.
Just for President 2024.
The thing about that, though, is that Joe Biden didn't even have to try this election. People hated Trump so much that all Biden needed to do was be there. And he won.
Oh my gosh, he Bidened his way. Oh my gosh.
It's pretty on brand.
That is so funny. So maybe it's not dated. Maybe that quote will just stay a thing forever.
It amazes me how much the Joe Biden stuff from like this and like Parks and Rec have just like aged so well.
Yeah, like not in a bad way. Fine wine, my guys.
Like, he's just, I mean, he's literally just there. Like, he doesn't do much. So there's nothing to be like, oh, I can't believe Joe Biden did this. And like, make you feel bad about it. He's just there, and now he's our president.
It's too
Way
much.
to be there, Joe Biden.
I can't. That is so funny. That's literally my vibe, is like, that's how I got friends in college. I would just sit in the hallway and look at my phone or do my homework, and people would just show up, and like, I Bidened my way through community college, everyone.
Excellent. So, episode 2 called Dice, where Jess gets on this dating app and Schmidt like teaches her how to date, and then everybody else gets high at a police party.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, let's move on.
Episode 3 was not very good.
Yeah, it's called Julie Berkman's Older Sister. And Jess's dad shows up and is like, look at my new girlfriend, which just so happens to be Julie Berkman's older sister.
Mm-hmm.
And then Schmidt does stuff at work.
Yeah, they talk about sponges. That was like the best part of that episode was him just being like, okay, say the first word that comes to your mind when I say the word sponge. And they just keep repeating the word sponge. That's the only funny part.
I liked the opening where they were all like talking to each other, and then Schmidt's like, "No, I'm not happy. I'm poor and living in a filthy thumble. I've gone from riches to rags. It's like reverse Annie."
No, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Like, I love that
Reverse Annie. Riches to rags, man. Oh my gosh. It's just iconic. It's so good.
Episode 4, Micro, I didn't even watch all the way through.
Me either. I skipped through it. I was I was doing the thing where you can see the little preview as you're going along on the Netflix thing, and I was like, oh, this scene looks okay. Oh, yeah, I remember how that goes. Never mind, I don't.
Yeah, I think I watched it on 2x speed and was only half paying attention.
Yeah, that one was just rough.
Jess goes on a weird date, and then Cece tries to make Winston and Coach models, but then Schmidt gets jealous. And that's the whole plot. But episode 5 is when it really starts to get good.
Shut it down! Shut it down!
So episode 5 is called Landline. They got a landline because they're having cell issues.
Yeah.
And then Nick gets jealous because everybody's too busy for him, and he works nights. So he starts acting as everybody's secretary. And then Jess is trying to crack down on teacher relationships in the school because Coach is sleeping with everyone. But then the new teacher shows up, Ryan, who she, like, falls in love with, and...
Who wouldn't?
I like Ryan.
Yeah, he's pretty perfect. I think that's why they had to get rid of him in such a horrible way, because he was too perfect.
I just wish he could have stayed longer.
Yeah, but then it would have been weird because she would have left and then he would have just dropped off the face of the earth too, so whatever.
Yeah, he was just in and out in a couple of episodes, and they had such a good build up to their relationship that I wish he would have stayed at least for a season.
The whole, like, oh, we have to be meeting up in secret thing, like, that's cute.
If he had stayed through season 5, instead of jury duty, Jess could have gone on an extended vacation to London.
Fair.
Because she disappears in season 5 because she's pregnant. And then they could have, like, broken up off screen or something like that.
I feel like that still wouldn't have been very satisfying, though. Like, oh, I'm back because we broke up. It's like, how? Why?
Yeah,
what
I
is
don't
happening
know.
right now?
Things like this, or like Ryan and the Coach stuff, make me wonder about actor contracts.
Yeah.
Or like
oh, I was only contracted for 6 episodes, so that's how long I got to stay.
Or like in Gilmore Girls, shoot, I forgot his name. Lane's boyfriend that you really like.
David.
Yeah, David. They write him out because he, like, is on a different show.
Yeah.
So usually when, like, actors get written out, that's what I assume happens.
Yeah.
But also, like, Ryan is just a supporting character, so he just has, like, a guest star role in the first place.
So it wouldn't really matter if he had conflict of interest because he wasn't, like, a main character.
Right. So his is definitely probably a contract thing.
Yeah.
I just, like, Coach, like, why did they write him out? And it's just, Coach is weird because they, like, wrote him, he was in the pilot, and they wrote him out, and then they wrote him back in, and then they wrote him back out again.
Yeah, but at least he got to stay for, 2 seasons?
Yeah. It makes me wonder if Coach wasn't getting good ratings, like, for the audience.
Yeah, maybe
like
there
the
was
pilot
just
episode,
too much going on.
The pilot episode especially, it seems like they didn't like him, so we had to get rid of him.
Yeah.
But like, why bring him back for 2 seasons and then make him leave again if he was in another role? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So, we meet Ryan, who's beautiful, and then episode 6 is called Background Check, and
It's so good.
Winston is in the police academy and he has to get his, like, residence, or, like, get his, like, roommates and everybody background checked to make sure he, like, moves on. And this is, like, prime loft shenanigans,
Yep.
which I love. I wrote Schmidt stopped being obsessed with Cece, so
True. Like, he literally tried to make out with her, so... I mean, he did.
yeah.
And then, yeah.
Basically, Winston is like, someone's coming here to do a background check, and Jess freaks out because she thinks she has meth. And so they're trying to, like, get rid of meth while also, like, trying not to tell Winston. And then they find out it was just aquarium rocks, and we get to have, like, a lot of development in Winston's character, where
Yeah.
everybody, like, doesn't really see him as a cop, but then it turns out that he's actually, like, the best one in the academy, and he's really great for this role. They just didn't believe him.
Yeah.
Which it makes me so sad that, like, people who, the Loft, and just, like, people in general, who don't appreciate Winston.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought you were going a different direction with that sentence.
Oh.
Well, I think there's something to be said about friends who don't believe in you. You know, like, you really are passionate about this one thing. Like, I wanted to try out for this solo in community college, and my two best friends there were like, no, you can't do that. You have to do something else. You have to do the other one. And not only did I get that solo because I was really good at it, I got to do it again in real school. So it's like, don't tell your friends they can't do something. Just believe in them, and then if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It doesn't matter.
Right, like, there's an aspect of you should be loyal to your friends. You should probably stop them from making terrible mistakes, but also, as a
Right.
friend, you should be able to see their potential. And if they're like, hey, I want to do this, if it's not gonna, like, actually physically harm them or emotionally destroy them to do it, maybe just support them.
Yeah, that's a thought. Sorry, I'm still a little salty about it. Like, I told a couple people that my friends had told me that, and they were like, who said that to you? We're gonna go fight them. And I was like, I don't know you guys, but you're great. Like, that's who we need to be, is like people who will back each other up, you know? Oh my gosh. Be supportive, guys. Don't make bad choices. Make good choices. Sing Landslide with your ears closed, and don't lie to the police. That's
Great.
the moral of the story. That was probably my favorite part, honestly. Like, yeah, Jess was freaking out. She put aquarium rocks down her shirt. She was crying the whole time. But Nick singing Landslide and Schmidt just going, Nick, stop singing!
I
The best.
love the academy person who's
Oh
like,
my
yeah,
gosh.
Winston's the best, and then is like, you should really think about moving.
Oh my gosh.
But this happens in this episode where they're like, Jess specifically has this moment where she's like, I don't think of you as a cop. And then later, when we meet Allie for the first time, the guys do the exact same thing.
I know.
Where they're like, Winston, you're gonna die. And it's
Yeah,
like,
and
he got to
part
this
of-
point, and like, being a cop is a dangerous job. And like, I could see them being worried for him, but also like you have to understand that was what he wants to do. And like
Mm-hmm.
he worked hard to get there, and so to some respect you have to believe that he can actually do it.
Mm-hmm. And I get the wanting to be protective, wanting to keep him safe. I get that. It just went to such an extreme that it part of it wasn't comedic anymore. It was like you really don't believe in him. That's not good.
Yeah, I saw a TikTok. There's like all those TikToks, I think I've sent you some that are like I'm not the main character, and then it like says
Mhm.
and has like a list of characters. It was like I'm not the main character, I'm the character that's just there, and then it had Winston on it.
It
And I
had
was like,
Joe Biden on it.
it didn't, but that would have been great.
Gosh.
But I think Winston is one of the best characters. He's way more developed and has way more emotional maturity than both Coach and Schmidt combined.
Yep.
And so just to be like, Winston's just the comedic relief or Winston's just there is like, no, Winston actually has a lot of wise things to say. And like, he doesn't do a lot of like plot moving,
Yeah.
but he's an incredibly important character to that
Yeah.
dynamic.
You said he has important things to say. One of my favorite lines that he says is, the cat lives with you guys too, but I get to reap all the benefits. And I'm like, honestly, say no more.
I
That's,
love that.
yeah.
So, I looked it up. Episode 7 is called Gold Mine. And the only thing I remember about this episode is that, oh, okay, I got it. Look up the description. Jess
Mm-hmm.
wants to bring home a guy, but everybody's like, you can't bring home a guy you live with your ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
And so
Which
she
I can't
lies.
believe this is the first time that's come up after 7 episodes.
Yeah. So she lies to the guy that she wants to bring home, and says that she lives with her ex, but her ex is gay now. So Nick has to act gay. And yeah, and then the guy's like, I don't believe you. And then Schmidt walks in because he's all sad because Cece's thinking about getting a breast reduction. And it's really gross, Schmidt, right now. He gets
Yeah,
so much
it's
better, but
yeah.
like he's just so sad. He's like, she's thinking about doing it. And so he like talks to Nick about it in a very vague way that like convinces Jess's guy that they're actually like lovers, and they like share a room at this time, so it was great.
Yeah, they hugged, and then Nick was like, "Bro, kiss me." Schmidt's just like, "I think you needed that more than I did, but that's okay." And just walks away, and the guy's like, "That was beautiful." Shattering every stereotype, gay Nick. They have to come up with a story because he's like, I can't lie worth anything, but I can make believe. I just need a story. And just every part of it was so good.
Yes. Episode 8 is called Teachers,
Yes.
and they go on a teacher conference.
This is one of my favorite episodes.
Jess and Coach go on this conference, and Jess has Coach act as her buffer because she's technically not allowed to date Ryan because she's the vice principal.
Yeah, so it's not with the coach dating all the teachers, that was fine because they're teachers, they're on the same level, but because she got promoted to vice principal and Ryan's only a teacher, they couldn't have any relationships because that leads to bad things. So,
Yeah. But then they end up start dating in this episode. And while
oh
this is
yeah.
happening, Nick, Schmidt, and Winston are having a guys' night, which like starts as stereotypical guys' night and then ends up with them in like a blanket fort talking about their feelings.
Yeah, like Nick teaches Schmidt how to do laundry and Winston how to use a ruler. And it's the most wholesome thing I've ever seen. And they just start singing in their blanket fort, and I can't. Oh my gosh.
I think I've mentioned this before in like season one or something, but I just love the idea that Nick is the only like responsible one. Like he's an absolute mess, but also Nick is the only one who knows how to do any kind of domestic task.
So he's kind of like the street smart of all of them. Like he's the
Right.
worst, but and doesn't know anything, but he knows everything.
But it's also like a lot of Nick's laziness or like given or like apparent disgustingness is all by choice. Like he
Yeah,
knows what he needs to do better, he just doesn't.
it is kind of out of character that Schmidt wouldn't know how to do laundry because he's such a neat freak. That
Yeah, he's
doesn't make a
also
whole lot of sense to me.
it's also like a big part of his character that he has a lot of money. And so
True.
him going to get everything dry cleaned doesn't feel out of character for him.
Right. I would just think, like, you never really know what's happening behind the scenes when things get dry cleaned. So you would want more control over that, especially as someone super OCD. Dunno. Speaking as a germaphobe, not as a show writer.
No, I mean that's a good point. Also, maybe Schmidt just has a good relationship with his dry cleaner. That also feels like something he would do.
Yeah. Like the jeans place.
So, episode 9 is called Thanksgiving 4, and they're doing Bangsgiving,
I hate it more than anything in the world.
where everybody draws a name and they have to bring a date for that person to the
I
Thanksgiving dinner.
I like the premise behind that. I think that's sweet. I just don't think that's practical in real life. Like you wouldn't just
Yeah, I just
know someone.
that you haven't already tried to set up your friends with.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't just wait for Thanksgiving for that to happen. Like,
Yeah. I don't love the idea that everybody needs to have somebody,
well, that too. I mean,
which is like it's very much a like we've been single for too long, everybody needs a date. And it's like I'm a big fan of being single is really important for you to figure out yourself and that there's literally nothing wrong with being single.
right.
And
I
that
mean,
I I found that a lot of times when people keep jumping from relationship to relationship, it's because they're trying to like hide from something, or like they have some kind of insecurity. Not always. Some people just do that, but like a lot of times, if you're just jumping from relationship, you're running from something, and
yeah.
maybe you need to stop and think about yourself and figure yourself out first.
Yeah. Yeah, like if they I know you can't put this in a 20-minute show, but if they had all been like, I think it's time to get a relationship. Let's do this thing. This is fine. Like, that's cool. It just felt very like, we all need it right now. Ah.
Yeah. It's a very, I mean, this whole show is, but it's a very sex driven thing. That's why it's called Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It's less about like a relationship, and it's like, we haven't gotten laid in a while. Let's all have
Yeah.
dates that we can sleep with.
It's a very sitcom thing. It's whatever.
Yeah. But this is a good episode, one for Jess and Ryan, because they officially start dating this episode.
The arm grab. Ugh.
Also, for Schmidt's character with Cece,
Oh my god.
because Schmidt draws Cece's name, and the whole time Cece's like, you're just gonna give me yourself. But Schmidt, like, actually gets her a date, and Cece, like, denies that date because she wants to be with Schmidt. So it's, like, a
Yeah.
good moment in their relationship where Schmidt is willing to move on, but Cece is really willing to accept Schmidt.
There's also a
That,
lot of Nick and Jess talks in this season, and I think that would be the only redeeming quality of them not being together is that they just have those one-on-one conversations like they used to. And it's so sweet. It just.
Yeah. I like that they just made them friends still.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you kind of have to be. The fact that he would
Yeah.
literally do anything for her, like, he would go on a tour of Portland, he would act super gay and kiss Schmidt on the mouth. Like,
So, episode 10 is called Girl Fight. And
oh my
I don't like
gosh.
this episode.
It's literally so stupid.
I hate it when Jess and Cece fight. It's
Because it's
just so
not written
stupid.
well. It's
No,
ridiculous.
it's so dumb. So,
They're
yeah,
like,
Jess and
oh, we
Cece
need
fight.
to have conflict with these characters. Yeah, well, write it better.
You're right. So, we'll just move on.
The
Episode 11
only
is called Ella.
the only good part about that episode is the whole time Coach is like, Winston, shouldn't you be studying? And like, same. Every time it cuts to Winston, he's doing anything but studying. He's like, oh, let me file my taxes right now. Let me do this and this and this. And I'm like, same.
Same. I was probably watching that instead of studying.
Yep.
So, episode 11 is called LAXmas. And basically, they're all just trying to go home for Christmas.
Yeah. Besides
And-
Coach.
Well, she eventually does go home.
Yeah, I love it.
Jess freaking out about having to go to London to see Ryan and then immediately making a new friend is incredibly on brand.
Yeah.
And then Cece and Schmidt have nice moments where they're like, let's be friends. And like they really mature there.
Yeah, they're even in the food court, Cece's like, I love having you as a friend. And Schmidt, you can like, this is what I love about Max Greenfield. You can see his heart breaking. And he's like, I like being your friend too. And I'm like, oh God. It hurts.
Yeah, but then even like from that point on, Schmidt is incredibly mature about the whole situation.
Yeah.
He like waits until he has confirmation that Cece likes him back before he even tries to make a move on her again.
Yeah, and then even when he does, he's like, if I am ruining this right now, stop me. Because I would rather be friends than not have you in my life. And I was like, stop.
Yeah. So Schmidt really redeems himself this season.
My favorite part of this episode is like Jess is freaking out. She doesn't get on the plane. She starts to leave the airport and Nick and Winston get off the plane. And I'm like, yes. Every time that happens, like, Friends, I loved that. I was like, yes, get off that plane, girl. Like, let's go. It's so sweet to me. I'm like, this is the moment where I think Nick is like, yep, I'm all in with this girl. Just getting off the plane. I'm convinced.
Yeah, there are a lot of moments, especially near the end of this season, where you can tell that they're setting Nick and Jess up to get back together.
Mm-hmm.
It just annoys me because it takes 3 more seasons before they get back together. Because they don't get back together until the like last possible second of season 6.
Don't hurt me in this way.
So, yeah,
I'm
I don't love that.
struggling.
It takes them so long to get back together, to the point that you're like, why?
Yeah.
And like I don't know. Jess was gone for a lot of season 5. But like, what about all of season 6? I don't know. We'll talk about that when we get to it.
Yeah.
But episode 12 is called Shark. We meet Allie in this season, or this episode.
Yay.
And I love Allie.
Allie and Ryan are the real ones.
Yes. We also meet Moscato, Fawn Moscato in this episode, which I dislike her, but I think she was a good relationship partner for Schmidt.
Yeah.
Schmidt.
Yeah, I definitely... Yep. Because he's always wanted those, like, powerhouse women who will tell him what to do and whatever. I actually know this girl from a show called Life in Pieces, which is really funny. I don't know if it's still on air anymore. I don't think it is, but yeah, really good stuff.
Yeah, I don't even know what happens in that episode, but
It doesn't really matter.
episode 13 is called Coming Out, and Ryan and Jess tell the school that they're dating, and then Jess has to pick field trips, and Ryan's is obviously the best, but as soon as she picks it, everybody accuses her of favoritism, and things just blow up in her face. But they're cute, so it's fine. And basically, in this episode, Ryan realizes that he needs to get a different job if he's gonna keep dating Jess, which is like good for him for recognizing that this is where Jess wants to be and being like, I'll be the one to take the sacrifice.
I mean, he should, because he did mention he had just started teaching, and this has been her life goal forever, and she's been teaching forever, right. So sorry about it, bud.
Yeah. Episode 14 is called Swoot. And Nick and Schmidt are such a weird duo. They're such a weird vibe when they, like, work together, because for all purposes, they should not be friends. But I like seeing them work together and, like, be bros.
Yeah.
This is the episode where Jess, like, they're, like, fighting all the time, and then Jess is, like, trying to help them, and then they, like, yell nice things back at her. And she's like, you are yelling nice things again at me, and it's very confusing.
Yeah.
And then episode 15 is called The Crawl, where Nick makes everybody go on a Valentine's Day bar crawl because he just broke up with his girlfriend.
Yeah, he met Kai in episode 10.
Yeah, which is Tran's granddaughter. His, like, bestie Tran.
Yeah, we also get to meet May, and I love her. She keeps showing up at every bar they go to, and she and Coach hit it off because he's like, oh, you have a Kansas license. Oh, you're a military brat. Oh, we went to the different places. And finally he says, it feels like we've been missing each other our entire lives, and now we've seen each other 3 times in one night. It must be fate. And it's so cute.
Right, and she's the reason that Coach ends up leaving at the end of the season. And I like their relationship. Yeah. We don't get to see a lot of it, but I like it.
They don't do anything problematic. Of course, she's my favorite person in the whole world.
Episode 15 has a lot of great Nick lines. Where, hey Nick, are you covered in gravy? No.
No. My favorite is Jess going. So Ryan asked Jess to move in. She pretended like she didn't hear him. They have a conversation later. And she goes, the craziest mother nutter in the whole dang place. I'm like, Jess, what?
My favorite is Nick talking to Ryan. And Ryan's like, Jess and I are going to go to a fancy dinner later. I'm just pretend drinking. And Nick goes, are you saying that because you want me to go to jail for murder? And Ryan's like, no. Nick is like, because I'm going to murder you if you're pretend drinking on my bar crawl.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and then Schmidt's taking care of drunk Cece, and we stand that. And he says a lot of nice things.
Yeah, and then Moscato comes and is like, I actually want to be your boyfriend, your girlfriend. Like, I'm in this. And then it just gets worse from there. Also, in this episode, Ryan gets a job in England. And Jess have to go long distance.
Yeah.
A lot happens in that episode.
Yep. A lot of plot happens.
Yeah. Episode 16 is called Oregon, and they go to Oregon for Jess's dad's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan's supposed to show up, but he doesn't, and so Jess and Ryan break up, and Nick, I love it when Nick supports Jess by forcing the gang to do things for her.
It does beg the question, why doesn't Cece do that? You know, like, he's like, oh, I know Jess, I know she's not okay, and I'm like, she and Cece have been friends for over 20 years. Shouldn't Cece know that too? Are you serious right now?
Cece's not in love with Jess.
Okay, but like, I don't know. I think it was good sentiment, but it's like, no wonder they fight. Like, they're not good friends to each other.
Yeah. I think Cece and Jess's relationship in general could be better. Because she doesn't live in the loft with them, it's like the writers forget that they're supposed to be best friends.
Yeah.
And then probably the actresses just don't have as much natural chemistry as Jess and Nick do.
Yeah.
And so it's just like harder for that to come out organically. Also, Winston is really great because Winston is so great when he knows everybody's secrets.
Oh my gosh.
Because he finds out that Cece's in love with Schmidt and is just like making fun of her the whole time. And I love that for Winston.
Yes. It's perfect.
So, episode 17 is called Spider Hunt.
Oh,
and
she
it's just
also
an entire...
broke up with Ryan.
Yeah.
That's important. He literally moved away in the next episode they broke up because he was being a jerk, so...
Yeah. Episode 17 is called Spider Hunt, and it's just an entire episode about miscommunication, so...
The popcorn machine thing, though, was hilarious. Like, it's not dirty, but it is, and it just... I was crying laughing the whole time. Like, it's so funny.
Yeah. Cece stops coming over because she's in love with Schmidt and doesn't, like, want to see Schmidt. And Jess gets all confused, and so she thinks that Cece likes Nick. But, like, Nick and Cece are, like, fighting over a popcorn machine because they work at the same place. And it's like, funny, but it's just, like, I really can't stand behind miscommunication plot lines. They annoy me.
It's tough. It's a rough time.
Episode 18, called Walk of Shame. We see the return of Genslinger.
And Josh Gad. Oh,
and Bear Claw.
The snowman. It's also a rough time.
Yeah.
But
episode 19. Go ahead.
My favorite part of 18 is May plays the Monday Night Football theme for Coach, and that gets me every time. I'm like, love is real.
Right, like, you don't have to have everything in common with the person that you're dating, but you have to be willing to learn and join in on what the person you're dating likes, which is exactly what May does.
Yeah, because
they keep,
what
like,
Coach
running
tries to do.
They keep running into problems because Coach doesn't know anything about classical music and May doesn't know anything about sports, but, like, she learns the Monday Night Football song on her cello because that's what Coach likes.
And he goes to this, like, art museum type thing for her, so it's like they meet in the middle every time, and it's good. We like that.
Yeah. Episode 19 is called The Right Thing, and my only note is
Yeah. Winston wants to be friends with Allie. That's nice. I like that. And he, like, tries really hard the whole time. But I skipped through this one, too.
Yeah. So episode 20 is called Par 5, and what happened? Jess is trying to get computers for her school, and so she asks Moscato if she can come to this networking golf event to like network her way to getting computers. We see the absolute downfall of Moscato.
Yeah. Which is fine.
Yeah, yeah, and then Winston meets this pretty girl who like doesn't want to date him because he's a cop,
Yeah.
and so there's like a little bit of like a racial conversation that happens.
Yeah. I just so happened to be watching this episode during a lot of the George Floyd stuff, so it was very interesting timing. I was like, what are the odds?
Yeah,
It was just a good thing to have in that show at such an early point. Like, it was done so well, too.
yeah. Some of the things in the show don't necessarily age very well because it was like early tens.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the stuff I'm like, I'm glad they talked about that when they talked about it. Because I think about a lot, there is absolutely no queer representation in this show.
Yeah.
It's like LGBT stuff is used as a joke basically the entire time.
Yeah.
But they do have like a diverse cast. Like it's not all white people. So it's like, yeah, that's good. They also like they could have done more for diversity, but it was also 2011. So like it makes sense.
They tried their best.
Yeah. So 21 is called Pantygate. And Moscato blames the incident of episode 20 on Schmidt, and then Schmidt like realizes his self-worth and is like, yeah, we're not doing this, and like breaks up with her.
Yeah, she's
and
the
then
worst.
Coach realizes that he's in love with May, but she's moving to New York, so they plan to move to New York together.
Yeah, it's really sweet.
Episode 22 is called Clean Break, and Coach is just like packing and trying to figure out all the stuff he's going to take, and he's like, I have to do a clean break. I can't take any memories.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually they convince him to take memories and things. And then Schmidt and Cece get engaged.
Yeah, that's... Yeah. One of my favorite things, I love the song Rivers and Roads, and I didn't realize why until I got to rewatch this episode, and it is so fantastic. Like, that song, it's one of those that would, like, play during the end of, like, a Grey's Anatomy episode. It's just, like, dramatic, fun song.
So, like, Schmidt and Moscato break up, and then Jess, like, Schmidt is all sad and is like, Cece doesn't like me, so I don't know what I'm going to do anymore. And then Jess, like, tells Nick in front of Schmidt, they're like, Cece's in love with Schmidt. And so then Schmidt, like, is going to go climb this mountain to find Cece, but Cece, like, came back for him. And they have a nice moment, and they get engaged.
It's so sweet.
It's, for as much as their relationship frustrates me, their engagement and their wedding are, like, two of the best moments on the show.
Literally? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's season 4.
It is a pretty good season. I had very low hopes for it. And it has some of the best moments. Like, seasons 1 and 4 are just really good. I also am partial to the Nick and Jess episodes, but it's fine because they still have a lot of moments, and that's okay with me.
Yeah. So, you have any other thoughts about this season?
No.
Great. What do you rate this? How many
This
pineapples?
Boy, I'll give it an 8 because it's only got like 4 or 5, maybe 6 episodes that I didn't really like. The rest were pretty solid.
Awesome. I also gave it an 8.
Nice.
So, season 4 is an 8, which is the highest New Girl season so far. And it brings our New Girl total up to a 7.1.
Nice.
So that's great. Okay.
Hello, we have social media like Twitter, which is really funny, and Instagram, and other social medias. We also are on the WBNE.org website. Read our bios, listen to our podcast on that website, or any other podcast app or website you can think of.
Yeah. The Curly Critics are a proud member of the WBNE network, which has amazing shows for you to listen to, one of which is a D&D podcast called Late to the Party. They just finished season 1, and they're just gearing up for season 2 coming soon, and all of that fun stuff. So here's a promo.
This is an urgent message. If you or a loved one have been suffering from mild hallucinations,
encountering what looked like a horde of zombies,
lack of fine motor function,
there was no parking, and I pulled up on the lawn and broke a sprinkler head.
the inability to sit for long periods of time,
did you just break the chair?
Jordan is holding a chair arm up. Roll to sit. Oh, did not do so good.
trouble using your tools.
Are you gonna take another smashy smash?
I sure am. 13 probably doesn't hit.
Does not hit.
Sorry about the dice, Scott.
Or existential crises.
And I'm playing Sunny Days, a high elf cleric, a half elf cleric, a quarter elf cleric, a mostly human cleric, a mostly human but with a smidgen of elf cleric.
You may be entitled to podcasts. Ask your doctor about Late to the Party, a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition actual play podcast for the whole family. Available every other Monday on WBNE.org or wherever podcasts are sold.
This has been New Girl Season 4. Tune in next week for Season 5. Help.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
There were no trains in this season, but that's okay.
Well,
We'll let it slide.
it's fine.
All right. Bye.
Bye.